Beginning a universal philosophy. What is the simple foundation that we can add to the present theistic foundation of religions, science, and philosophy? Theism, the foundation of our present perceptions, and this information was written around the year 1998 AD. It is presently the year 2021 AD. The foundation of our present perceptions says souls exist and souls need a causative force, or God. Symbiotic Panentheism adds two things. Souls are within the causative force, and the causative force needs souls. However, just making the statement is not enough. It has to be supported by all three areas representing the primary means by which we perceive what it is we are. The model must be supported by religious, scientific, and philosophical concepts. It must not be supported by just a few ideas from each of these fields. It must be supported by the most prominent aspects of each of these fields. If this book is intended to provide the initial verification for the concepts of symbiotic panentheism, what is the objective of the other two books in this trilogy, as noted on the website panentheism.com? You and I Together explores the scientific logic of a universe being created from nothing, the universe being located within the causative force, and the causative force needing you as well as you needing the causative force. This model is then examined in terms of the impact it would have had on the past, would have on the present, and could have on the future if our society accepts it. In the Image of God explores 10 present social dilemmas and 20 possible futuristic dilemmas which seem unresolvable under our current perceptions. If then examines why these issues would be resolvable with the slightly different perception generated by the model. Why is symbiotic panentheism such a major perceptual shift? If panentheism is correct, then we are located within the causative force, and thus we, each of us, are a part of the causative force. If symbiosis is correct, then we have an interdependent relationship with the causative force. We need the causative force, and the causative force needs us. The startling implication is that if you abuse yourself, if you let others abuse you, if you abuse others, if you let others abuse others, if you abuse the environment, you are not only allowing abuse to happen to other people, you are allowing the causative force, herself, himself, itself, to be abused. That is, without a doubt, a new way of looking at yourself and looking at others, and of looking at the environment. How do religion, science, and philosophy fit in? With a universal philosophy, religion, science, and philosophy become fused. The three start working in a cooperative fashion rather than a competitive, antagonistic fashion. As individuals, we benefit, for we gain three allies working together with the intent of uniting and strengthening us in our sense of purpose. Under symbiotic panentheism, the three would work to bolster us as we step into the heavens rather than divide us. What are we as individuals and as a human species? We are what we think we are. If we perceive ourselves to be animals, we act as animals and kill each other when we don't have to, as in capital punishment. If we perceive ourselves to be soldiers of the causative force, we act like soldiers as in time of the Crusades. If we perceive ourselves to be seekers and exorcists of evil, we act as seekers and exorcists of evil, as in the time of the Inquisition. If we perceive ourselves to be chosen race, we act as the chosen race, as in during World War II. If we perceive ourselves to be a piece of the causative force, then we will act as we could expect the causative force would act. How are we different from other animals? Most animals are what they are. Humankind is not what it is, but rather what it thinks it is, perceives itself to be. Likewise, the individual is what they think they are, and they perceive themselves to be. We are probably the only species that can decide what we think we are and then strive to become that perception. An ant acts like an ant because it is an ant. A wolf acts like a wolf because it is a wolf. This is not true for humans. If we perceive ourselves to be forgiving, we are forgiving. If we perceive ourselves to need to look out for our own self-interest, we use others for our personal gain. Depending on the degree we perceive ourselves to be better than others, we treat others as inferior. We usually act confused as a species because we are confused. We do not have a universally accepted conception of what we are as individuals and why we exist in reality. Thus, our actions take on a number of conflicting, self-destructive behavior patterns in relationship to ourselves, others, and our own species. But if humanity is what it thinks it is, isn't that okay? It is okay if we are like what we are. If we look at humanity and see child abuse, spousal abuse, violence, poverty, brutality, abuse of authority, war, environmental abuse, and on, and if we do not like what we see, then it is not okay. Then we must change it. What if I like what I am? That is fine, but that is only part of the picture. You are more than just yourself. You are a part of your species and what your species represents within reality. Therefore, you must ask yourself if you like what you see when you view all actions of humankind. If I am a Christian, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, isn't that what I am? You are not a Christian, Muslim, Jew, or Buddhist. That is what you believe. That is your faith. Why do I have to change? You don't have to change. No one can make you change, nor should they be able to force you to do so. If I don't have to change, then why should I put the effort into thinking about changing? You shouldn't put the effort into changing if you like everything you are, everything your species is, and everything your species is doing to individuals, itself, and to the environment. But if you don't like everything about yourself, your species, or both, then you need to consider changing. I am only one person. How can I change things? You can change things through the butterfly effect and the broken window effect. The butterfly effect says every action ripples throughout society. Some ripples fade away, others add just enough energy to be responsible for the generation of a ripple that culminates into a tidal wave of phenomenal proportions. Regardless of the end result, you are responsible for your actions and the results they generate. The broken window effect says every action we generate we tolerate. Every action we encourage leads to the acceleration of the same actions. As an example, if we are the first to break a window in an abandoned building, others will follow suit. The process of breaking windows in the building then accelerates until they are all broken. We are responsible for not only our actions, but the ripples our actions generate. We are trying to change things already. Why do we need to do more? You don't. If you are satisfied with the way things are, all forms of status, racial, occupational, intellectual, economic, physical, geographic, educational, etc. are based upon our perceptions of who we are and what significance we are attached to ourselves and others in terms of our role in reality. The only way to change significantly is to change the perceptions we have of who we are and what role we are responsible for in reality.